TheCreepyReal brings you Arachbed, written by Reddit user RoseBlack2222. Does anyone know where I can get a new mattress for a low price? My new one has had complications. Let me start from the beginning. I've had my old mattress for over 5 years now. It served me well, but when I found several springs popping out one morning, I figured it was time to replace it. Mattress shopping was a complete nightmare. Why do they have to be so damn expensive? Anyway, last week I thought I'd finally found a replacement. I was driving back home from work when I had to stop at a red light. It happened to be the one next to my area's thrift store. It occurred to me then that I hadn't tried looking for one there. At first, I was hesitant considering COVID and all that. However, I reasoned I could just sanitize it. With that in mind, I pulled into the parking lot. When I went inside, I found several mattresses near the front of the store. All of them were fortunately in my price range. Unfortunately, most of them were uncomfortable as hell. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them were made of broken glass. I thought that it would turn out to be a waste of time. Then I came across the last mattress in the store. It was perfect. I didn't lay on any of them, by the way. I just used my hand to determine their firmness. I can tell you at that moment, it felt as though that mattress had been made especially for me. I was surprised nobody had got it already. I found an employee and told him I wanted to buy it. He got a confused look when he saw the mattress and said that he didn't remember it being brought into the store. That was my first red flag. Oblivious to it, I purchased the mattress anyway. With it tied to the top of my car, the only thing I had to do was buy some supplies to sanitize it with. After a quick search, I found there were several methods of which can be used. I went with the one involving baking soda, essential oils, and vacuuming. Apparently, all I had to do was combine some of the oil and baking soda, then rub the mixture into the mattress, waiting an hour for each side to dry. I cleaned each side twice just to be safe. And with that done, I was happy to have an albeit only new to me mattress to sleep on. There was just one problem. I had forgotten to wash my sheets. I cursed my forgetfulness, and after debating with myself for a bit, decided that cleaning and drying sheets would take way too long. I put off washing them until the next day. After waking up, I went into my bedroom to get my sheets and saw what I should have recognized as my second red flag. I was almost positive I had placed it dead center against the back wall. When I saw it again, however, it looked as if it had somehow been moved a couple inches to the left. Once again, I dismissed this peculiarity, thinking I had simply moved it and forgot I had. I picked up my sheets and took them to the laundry room. Once I put them inside the washer, I grabbed my bottle of detergent only to realize it was completely empty. I muttered a curse word and threw it away, then headed out to buy some laundry detergent. It ended up taking much longer than it should have. Of all the rotten luck, a storm knocked over a tree, blocking the road. The alternative route happened to be closed due to construction work, so I couldn't take it instead. It took about 3 hours for the damn thing to be removed. By then, I had all but run out of patience. Even after the tree was finally gone, I still had to deal with the bottleneck of traffic caused by its presence in the road. That took another hour to get through. When I finally made it back home, at last, the sun was already setting. The only silver lining I had was that I wouldn't have to sleep on the couch again. Or so I thought. I proceeded to wash and dry my sheets. I then took them to my room where I saw that the bed was back at the center of the wall. I nearly dropped the sheets when I saw this. I knew for sure that I didn't move it because I had no reason to go back into my room before that time. I started to grow worried that someone had somehow gotten into my home. Luckily, a search through my house showed me that this wasn't the case. I thought that maybe I was just growing paranoid due to the stress of a long day. I was ready to put my head on my pillow and drift off to dreamland. All I had left to do was wash my sheets. With them fresh out of the dryer, I put them on my bed, then took a shower, brushed my teeth, and went to sleep. The moment I laid on my mattress, I felt all my worries and stress melt away. Heavenly doesn't even come close to describing how good it felt to lay on it. I felt like a scoop of ice cream melting onto a slice of pie fresh out of the oven. I fell asleep faster than I ever have in my life. It was by far the best night of sleep I ever had, at least for roughly 2 hours. I got one of those scam-likely calls in the middle of the night. Annoyed, I immediately rejected the call, then tried going back to sleep only to realize that the bed was a few feet from the wall. That freaked me right the hell out. I had to double check to make sure I wasn't seeing things. When I confirmed I wasn't, I tried getting out of bed only to feel something wrap around my legs. Despite the darkness, I could make out what I can only describe as tendrils poking out of the bed. I screamed when I saw them and tried in vain to free myself. More tendrils shot up from the bed and wrapped around me, binding me to the bed. Then 8 thick, spider-like legs shot up from the sides of it. I desperately wanted what I was witnessing to be a nightmare, but it wasn't. It began running towards the door. I thought it intended to ram its way through it. Instead, I saw these giant pincers poke out the front of the bed. They were so sharp that they pierced right through my headboard and door. It chewed its way through my front door as well. I tried to scream, but its tendrils wrapped around my mouth. I figured that someone would surely notice a monster bed scurrying across the street. Unfortunately, nobody seemed to be out at this time. Of course, they weren't. Usually, my neighbors never shut the hell up, but the one time I needed them to be outside, they were nowhere to be found. Just my luck, and it was about to get even worse. The bed was heading towards the woods. As far as I know, spiders only tend to do 2 things in the forest: eat and mate. Neither of those sounded even remotely appealing to me. However, the former sounded like the greater torture of the 2. I struggled the entire time it was taking me deep into the woods. It stopped in front of some gnarled-looking trees and began tapping at the ground. Dead leaves crunched under its leg for a short while until I felt it sink a little. It then started raking leaves out of the way, revealing a large hole in the ground. I didn't like where things were going. The inside of it was damp, almost suffocatingly so. The only source of light I had coming from the bed itself. 2 red beams of light shot out in front of it. I assume it was coming from its eyes. It gave the tunnel an almost hellish vibe. The end of the tunnel led us to a large cave where a sudden burst of red light nearly blinded me. When my eyes adjusted, I saw what I don't know what else to call other than spider pillows. All of them were in varying shapes and sizes. The only common trait among them were their legs and piercing red eyes. All my screams and yells were muffled when I saw them. However, From how far down we must have been, I doubt I would have been hurt no matter how loudly I screamed. The nasty little things began scampering towards their mother. I thought I was done for as they were climbing onto me. I slipped my hand into my pockets to find something, anything, with which I could use to escape. That was when my fingers grasped around the lighter. I had forgotten it was in my pocket. Just a quick side note. I happen to be something of a lighter collector. Whenever I see one that I think has a cool design, I'll purchase it, and I happened to while I was out getting detergent. It was one of the rare instances where my bad memory ended up working in my favor. I managed to get the lighter out of my pocket and flick it on. Before I could be feasted upon, the bed let out an ear-piercing shriek, causing her young to retreat. I felt the tendrils loosen some, and I seized the opportunity to rip them away from me and get out of my bed. Then I started dashing back towards the tunnel. Naturally, my supposed predators noticed that I was attempting to escape and chased after me. Unfortunately, I couldn't run up the tunnel because of its narrowness. I had to try climbing up it. Considering I was being chased by creatures related to ones who evolved to be expert climbers, my chances of escaping weren't looking good. I happened to get lucky again. As I was climbing with those little hellspawns and their mother not far behind me, my foot happened to touch a loose rock in the wall. I kicked it as hard as I could, freeing it and causing some larger rocks to come loose from the wall. They tumbled downward and onto my pursuers, knocking them underneath their weight. Not only did I hear a thud when they hit the bottom, I also heard a loud crunching noise which told me they weren't unscathed by the rocks. Once I finally escaped the tunnel, it was a simple matter of running forward until I made it out of the forest. Coincidentally, one of my neighbors happened to be outside at the time, taking out the trash. I must have looked insane to him. I was covered in dirt, scratches, and sweat. Not to mention I wasn't wearing any shoes at the time. I guess my body had reached its limit because I collapsed in my yard. I woke up sometime in the hospital. Apparently my neighbor called me an ambulance. Fortunately, aside from a slight cold, I didn't contract anything too serious. Trying to explain what had happened to the staff there was a mess I don't even want to begin to get into. The most believable explanation I could come up with was that some kind of animal broke into my home and dragged me into the forest. When they asked me what it looked like, I replied it was too dark for me to see it. For obvious reasons, my incident put everyone in my neighborhood on edge. A zoologist was sent out, who I showed the hole to. A team had to be brought out to carefully remove the rocks at the bottom. They found, after getting them out of the way, were the bloody and crushed bodies of the creatures. Nobody had any idea what to make of them. Usually, such a discovery would be reported nationally. However, some government people were sent out to hush everyone up and have the hole sealed up. I say good riddance. The dead bodies of those things can rot in that cave for all I care. I spent the last few weeks searching for a new mattress, and what do I have to show for it? An expensive medical bill and what will probably be used by my stingy landlord as an excuse to deny me my deposit back when I'm finally able to move out of this place. I should have just bit the bullet and gone with one of the more expensive mattresses. Instead, I went with one that caused me a waking nightmare. Honestly, I don't know if any of those things were found alive or somehow managed to escape the cave. I really hope they didn't. I'm also hoping more of them aren't out there, or nothing like them is out there. It's been back to the couch for me ever since that incident. Being a tall guy, sleeping on it isn't exactly comfortable. So I've posted this here in hopes someone can recommend me somewhere I can get a good, affordable mattress. Hell, I'll even take a futon at this point. If it doesn't turn out to be some cryptid that tries to eat me, I'll be happy with it. Hopefully. Soon I'll be able to get a good night's sleep again, where I won't wake up with my neck sore. Thank you so much for listening. This video is called Arachbed by Rose Black 2222. In order to support his artistry, please see the description of this video where you can find links to his other works or to donate. In order to support my work, please see the description of this video as well. There you will find links to my other platforms such as Twitch, Reddit for my written stories, Twitter to keep up to date on basically everything I do, and even a donation page if you feel so apt to support my artwork. I would greatly appreciate it, but of course, it isn't mandatory. I appreciate you listening, and as always, stay creepy.